YouTube, what is going on? It's your boy Buddha back in the building for some more Last Cloudia news and information. Video I'm kind of excited to go over because it's a bit different than our typical news and info that we're used to seeing. This morning, early in the AM, there was a tweet that went out on the JP Last Cloudia account on Twitter, which gave us this interview that occurred with the prior and new director of Adel Incorporated, or Last Cloudia, as their main project. And what was interesting when this was initially announced a little while ago was that anytime there's a change in directors, you can expect changes in whatever the game is going to be like moving forward. Maybe not crazy overhauls, but potentially subtle changes with a new person in charge of making those certain decisions for the game moving forward. So it always piqued my curiosity when they mentioned it kind of casually in one of the info videos that released a while back. But today it was at, or I'm sorry, it wasn't today, it was last night at 11:12. Your boy Grandpa Buddha was sleeping, but I woke up this morning and was very interested in translating this website, reading through it to see if I could decipher any juicy information, because obviously this website, all of this was in Japanese originally, so the translations are a bit botched. But I suspected it would be interesting reading through an interview of the directors of the game, since, like I mentioned before, those are the decision makers. It's one thing when we're talking to Barleen or doing the Takasan Q&As, because they don't really have push. They have a little bit of push, but they don't have that decision-making final say in the company like the director of the game does. So, by seeing what these two say in this interview, we can, I think, get a better idea of what kinds of changes we will be seeing from Last Cloudia moving forward. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing because I'm kind of making assumptions of interpretation due to the direct translation we get here, but I think we can decipher some really cool info. Here we can see the two men that were interviewed. We have, I believe this is Mr. Tsukasa Kadoma. I don't know if these names are properly translated, so forgive me if those are incorrect, but that's just how we'll be referencing them in this article. I believe this is the new director, and then this is the prior director, Mr. Hiroshi Shinoko. A little more history about the CEO of Adel, Mr. Hisatoshi Hayashi, president and CEO. He was the general director of Brave Frontier during the Alum era. I don't know what that actually means or if that's translated correctly. I don't think he has as heavy of a hand in Brave Frontier as he used to. He was also involved in the launch of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, which gives us that tie-in to Square Enix. That's why we have a lot of Square Enix collaborations, and Barleen has said we have a very close relationship with the Square Enix team. This is the reason for that, because the president and CEO was involved in Square Enix Final Fantasy Brave Exvius specifically. And what's cool is in this little thing, it's just like a back and forth interview, and they kind of highlight whoever's talking by showing the name in a specific color. Shinoko, the prior executive director, will be in green, and then Kadoma will be in blue, who also is referred to as Maman. So that's another nickname we can refer to him by. So this is just kind of talking about the transition of director position. Shinoko giving that to Kadoma. Skimming through this, Shinoko, the prior director, you can tell he was very invested in the story development and the lore, as well as like the world map. That's where most of his interests lie. We're going to see later that as he's stepping down as director, he's going to be very heavily involved still in the planning and direction of the story of Last Cloudia. So it just gives us an idea of where the prior director's head was at. I know that somewhere in here, I'm probably going to skim past it, but he would like to be releasing content every month, but realistically with their current staff, it takes about 3 to 4 months for them to flesh out new story updates, which is just really cool information to know, because it gives us that expectation and visualization of how long processes take in the Adel staff currently. Shinoko was basically involved in creating our new Sun Vessel map that we get during specific events. As stated by Kadoma, you also created a new map for the map event. So you could tell that Shinoko is very, very interested in this kind of stuff, map design, world design, lore creation, and that's kind of the reason why he's stepping down as director. Now we start getting into some interesting things being asked by the interviewer. And specifically, the interviewer says, "I've been playing since the beginning of distribution, but the difficulty of unit development was certainly high," talking about how long it takes to flesh out these units, acquire the materials. I think especially from a new player standpoint, building that first unit feels like it takes ages. It takes a very good amount of time and extensive grinding to get to a point where you feel like you can max out units quickly and at a, I think, a satisfying pace compared to other gachas in the market. So they definitely acknowledge this, and even Kodama here wants to close the gap in terms of unit building, create events to give you more materials, revamp existing events, but also not lose the essence of Last Cloudia having a bit of a more intensive unit building process, because he feels that that makes the game stand out a bit amongst many, which I agree. That was a reason I liked the game starting out, because I wanted to invest my time to really flesh out a character, get the understanding of how they worked before I could claim that I maxed them out. It really gave me that feeling that I understood what I had in the palm of my hands, right? So doesn't want to lose the essence of unit building, but doesn't want it to be as much of a drag as it can be. I thought this comment was funny here. Kodama's talking about playing through the actual game. He says, "When I was playing test, it took a lot of time. It was really hard. But there are a lot of people who have cleared it." And then the interviewer says, "The players will exceed the management team." Just kind of giving us confirmation that a lot of times when we get what update is next and start testing out new units, new mechanics that they've introduced, and we're thinking, how the heck did this get past testing? I think this kind of just like confirms that the players will always find more than the devs ever could have before the launch of the update. You know, it's just something, it's just a naturally occurring thing. That's why when new games come out, there's a ton of bugs that they find, and then continuous patching is necessary. It's just an unrealistic expectation for the development team, the management team, to know every little thing, every little tiny detail that's going to result, or what consequence is going to come from that before the actual update. So now getting into some real juicy stuff that I think is really cool. It says right here, "We are developing content that could be used by past units," phrased in a question mark. So as they're talking about this multiplayer battle system, Shinoko kind of throws in this comment: "As the number of units has increased, it's a waste to have grown up only used strong units, so it's an image that I want to create content that can be used by characters raised in the past." This is related to this little highlighted section. "We are developing content used by past units." So just like we have seen the one world boss battle, that being Gala Nova, where you have to bring units that are on the permanent pool and or considered dead in the main storyline. Hopefully we will get more content that is character locked, so that you can't just bring the most power crept units to clear it. The game kind of forces you to use certain units, aka making you build them out to clear it, giving you more content, more things to do in the game, rather than just chase the most power crept thing. So really, really like this idea. Interviewer says, "In terms of preventing rut," he's talking about just staleness in the game overall, "I think many people are looking forward to new content, but is there anything you are currently thinking about?" Kodama says, "Can't talk about specifics." And then, of course, it's okay. "Only a little between the gates. Today's Last Cloudia has a lot of elements to enjoy alone, including the main story and events. That's one of the good points of LC, but the multi that I implemented a while ago has been well received, and I think the Last Cloudia has become part of that connects with people. Would like to expand this area." So sounds like Kodama was one of the main reasons we have multiplayer, which I think is cool. Although there are ups and downs, there are a lot of gripes about multiplayer, there is no denying that it definitely expanded the playability and added a huge feature with a lot of potential to Last Cloudia as a whole. So I think it was a really, really good addition. Glad to see that Kadoma had a strong hand in making that. Just gives me confidence that he will be introducing more impactful features as the director. Shinoko quickly follows by saying, however, I don't want to make it mandatory either, which shows, I think, a really good balance because of all of the issues in terms of connectivity and device requirements. Multiplayer has a bit of a sour note to it because many players just cannot access it. So them making it mandatory, them initially locking 5-star enhancement materials behind multiplayer wasn't really great for the overall health of the game because you just locked out whatever fraction of the player base can't access the game mode altogether. So I think Shinoko is in the right headspace where you don't want to make multiplayer a mandatory thing, just an additional thing that you can get extra rewards from if you have the device requirements for it. Kadoma agrees, which is a good sign. This is really interesting here. An area of renovation and evolution Kadoma wants to focus on is around arenas and events. So hopefully this translates just to an arena revamp and like more event orbs, more orange orbs and different types of events that we can use. We've already seen new events come into the game, that being the revamp of their new monster event unit grinding and the Trials of the Summoned Beast that's going on right now. So hopefully along with that will come just more accessibility, more playability with more events, meaning more orange orbs, or a revamp in the entire system I would love, but that's not what's being said here. Just very interesting that he called out arena as well. That's been something that he says. The arena has been renovated once since it was released, but at the moment I think the users have become a little rutted, right? Things have become very stale, very obvious to see, so I would like to renovate it. Very exciting that he has his eye on that. Will make a lot of people excited. That Zero plays. What's going on? Skimming through more, Shinoko then talks about we also want to improve playability, which I believe is translating to optimization. Because as we can see, the interviewer says, what exactly is that? With the addition of functions and content, the difficulty level of Last Cloudia has become even higher, so I want to make it easier to play, including ease of viewing, right? It's a weird translation, but I think that means less lag, less crashing, a better product to look at, right? Looking at a bunch of still frames because your device is crapping itself is not fun. I think that's what ease of viewing means here. Until now, it's a part that I couldn't get around, so I think this is Shinoko just saying this was not a strength of mine to focus on and hammer in, and Kadoma says, that's right, we will do it quietly here. I don't know what quietly means. I think he just means subtly in the background. And then Shinoko says, Monma is a type that really does it properly and politely. I think that just means subtly in the background. I think that the number of defects will decrease from now on. Until now, there have been a lot of things. I'm really sorry for the users, so I think I should return them in-game little by little. So hopefully this is Shinoko just admitting I was never great at focusing on device optimization. I think Momon is going to be way better at that. So just fingers crossed to that. I definitely wanted to point that out. I just really like the headspace that I'm seeing. A lot of concerns and things that people want to see in the game. The directors, the prior and new director, are really kind of talking about here, which is really refreshing to see. And then skimming through the rest of it, I don't think there's anything else I want to call out. I didn't want to read through the entire thing, just kind of highlight the key points that intrigued me, give you my interpretation of what I think these translations are saying. Of course, take it with a grain of salt, because with that direct translation, there's a lot that can be lost there. However, I think there was enough to grab hold of and decipher some real substance here. Really excited, really happy to see this. We are getting the 3-year anniversary, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that we're seeing this kind of interview come up. We're seeing a lot of QOL changes in the game already. The 3-year anniversary is looking like a big, nice, hopefully big revamp of the game overall for a lot of concerns us players have had over the years. And I just can't wait to be a part of it with you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. A little different. Had to jump on Google Translate real quick. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I got for you this time, guys. Like, subscribe, bell noties for anyone who is new. Y'all know the YouTube drill by now. And with all that being said, Y'all know what we say. Work hard, play hard. See you in the next video.